So welcome to this masterclass, Body Composition for Health and Athletic Performance. And I'm so thrilled that you have created the time and the space to be here with me and to take something that you're curious about within this. And I just really value your time and your presence. So if it's possible, Carolyn, I don't know where you're at, if you're driving or if you're busy, but if you are able to come onto the call and yeah, so I can see you, it does help, but it's also okay. I know that people are busy and doing things, sometimes eating and other things. There she is. Oh, I really appreciate you coming on. So thank you. It's nice to see you. So we are obviously a small group, but regardless, I think that this is absolutely perfect. And where I'm going to start is actually just a little bit about why I'm here, why this topic, why I'm delving into this whole space. And I want to actually start with just coming into something for you, and to think about where you felt completely free in your body. Where was it that you felt like you were strong and powerful? And I want you to think of it. It doesn't have to be an athletic experience. This actually can be you just standing on in front of somebody, or in conversation with somebody that you just felt really a strong presence and of yourself. And I want you to just get that image and get that emotion of what that felt like. If you got one, if you can think of something, think of that space or that, and just really take that on. And whatever is popping up into your being right now, that is the perfect spot. Welcome as you come on. We're just thinking about perfect spot that we can have felt at peace and one with our body, that we are energized. For me, it was diving into a pool, and it was an incredible day. The sun, I was at Simon Fraser University. The pool is in this space in which it has from ceiling to floor windows, and they have those silhouettes of those birds on the windows so they don't come crashing in. And I had the whole pool to myself, which was really wild. I've never had that. There's this huge dive tank, and with dive tanks, it's that deep, rich blue. And I remember diving in and just absolutely feeling surrounded and held by the water. And it was just it just is the essence of being in body, being in strength, and being in sport all together for me. And that's what it was. And it brings me to this question of why do we get into sport? How do we come into our body? How do we feel this strength? And for me, coming in and coming home in my body is like feeling a good energy. It's an ability to also focus. It's an ability to push myself. We just had a workout. It was Beth's first workout on Thursday. It was such a doozy. Oh my goodness. I almost felt bad for her, but anyways, I didn't, because I knew she could handle it. So there we went. And it was this strength and this power that you show up for yourself. You're being something. You're being the person that you want to be. And as a person, as I continued on in my sport career, it became something different. It became about excellence. It really became about excellence. And I was trying to grapple, what was that drive? What is that drive for me? And I can think about my immigrant parents who always were trying to make it into something, to be somebody. My mom is a published author. My father has had multiple businesses, many who failed. And finally, now that he's in his 70s, he's making more than he's ever had, but he will not retire. It's interesting because my career as a elite athlete serving toward this idea of excellence spanned many decades. But what the the challenge that I had was, and what I realized was that it was an endless struggle towards getting somewhere. It was never about coming back to that very essence, which I wanted you to come into as we entered into this call of what is the essence of what it is and how we are in being in our body and what we get to put out into there. It became about somewhere to go. It was the Olympics, big goal, never made it. I became, I became a master of discipline. I became a master of judgment. I became a master of comparison. I became a master of never quite getting it. Even when I achieved my goals, huge goals, 7th in the world at the ITU World Championships. That's pretty good. That's not bad. Winning 70.3 Ironmans, not bad. Did I ever was I really grounded in these achievements, in these celebrations? No, because it was always there, never quite there. The tragedy of this story, the tragedy of this whole thing is I had lots of wonderful experiences, but that when I look back, it was this feeling of not enoughness, and it was a feeling of betrayal of my body. I didn't quite get it. My body never kept breaking down. Damn it. It just wasn't enough. I wasn't enough. No matter what I did, I went and got the best, tried to get the best information, but this was 20 years ago. It wasn't the same that we have now. And where I want to go with this is that we come into this conversation of body composition for health and for athletic performance. And we want to have these goals. Goals are our North Star, and we want to keep achieving. But what we don't want is to get into the goal being it's for the goal's sake. We want to come into what is the intention. What do we want to move forward toward? We want to move forward towards being enough just as we are and arriving at a place that we feel good and knowing that it already exists within us. It's the intention behind the goal. And so what I want to bring us to is that where we start in thinking about how do we come into our cycle, because look at our bodies. How phenomenally they have gone from being a teenager to a young woman to a young, I don't know, is a 30-year-old young still? I'm not sure. 40-year-old, 50-year-old, 60-year-old, and then continual at the ability for it to adapt. And that is something to celebrate, and to celebrate that your body is not betraying you. It is actually your ally. My body never betrayed me. It was screaming loudly that it needed support. And how did I do it? Well, I tried to keep whipping it into shape. And my body kept on screaming at me. This is not the way. This is not the way. This is not the way. And I kept on trying to push. How do we come into it where we're at right now? This is about being in perimenopause. It's about being post-menopause. It's about being in our bodies as they show up right now. What's so interesting is after I retired from that elite sport, I had to come into this whole new way of being in my body. I had no idea. I have extensively grown and expanded and shrunk and expanded and shrunk. And so in one of the places in which I was trying to work through this is I was sitting with a counselor, and she said, Tennille, close your eyes and figure out, where is your joy? And Donna's going to know about this because she'll have experienced it. And my joy is working alongside a pool and seeing one small tweak of the hand the ability to be bigger in the water, to grab more water, to push through, to propel them forward. The one small tweak. And what is so cool about this, and what I want to share with you, and then we'll get into the science, I'll get into the body composition and the science-y Tennille that just like brings in all that element. But what I want to share with you is that it can be one small tweak that allows us to access who we are in our bodies and what we want to feel like. And it does not depend on getting to a certain goal, a number. The podium does not define us. The number does not define us. What's interesting about all of these things is that it is about coming into the present moment, isn't it? If we're always trying to get there, then we'll never feel where we are right now. We won't look at exactly and come into that core of our being and say, where am I now? Is this a story? Is this a judgment? Is this me not being enoughness? Is this me trying to expect that my body should be somewhere else rather than where it is right now? Is this me not listening in and saying, like what I did, this like push through, push through, push through. It takes grit. You want to get where you want to go, it takes grit. It takes perseverance. It does take those things, but it doesn't take grind. There's a difference here. We want to be free and we want to honor where we are at. So what I want to, I'm speaking to this in a way, and I want to say one more thing, is that in this whole idea of body composition and how do we get to be our best selves? How do we play to our best? It's really in taking the action. And that's one of the things that I want to come to today. I am a coach. I'm a coach. I have certifications from Simon Fraser University in nutrition. I've taken every female physiology course that one can take. Beautiful, awesome. I do a lot of interviews so I can keep on pulling, but where it is and what we're going to do today is learn about how do we actually take action, because you can keep on learning. You can keep on taking the courses. You can keep on trying to pull in the information, but until we start grappling, and that's what I want us to kind of start to get at today, is where do we start the grapple? And how do we do that? So I'm going to share with you my screen. And so what are we talking about today? We're going to talk about really what the heck is happening. Like we talk about this thing and it's, perimenopause and beyond. And we like really this big picture, because, we've only got an hour. So big picture, we are going to talk about 3 mistakes I see. We're going to talk about my model for like everything that we do. And we're going to talk about one action that we can do that can make a big change. So this is where I move from the heart and I get into the science. Are you ready? All right, let's do this. All right, so this is a slide that really is speaking to, I'll just say it, the holy shit. Like it is the holy shit, what's going on here with my, like, what is it? What is going on in all this stage? What is the impact of stress? What is the impact of hormone change? What is the impact of low energy availability? What is the impact of other medical conditions midlife? These are all the things. And when I took the course with Dr. Carla DiGirolamo, arthritis, depression and anxiety, intimate partner violence, thyroid disorders, gallbladder disease, where are these things coming in? And yes, she brought these up because these are really prominent things that more females in our age are dealing with. And so it's like, how do we know? How do we come into and understanding that when we come into our body composition, when we think about body composition, there's a lot to consider of what is it? What is it? And how do we move through it? And I'll share with you, I'm about big rocks. the big rocks. I want big rocks, and then we'll deal into the nitty gritty. But we start with the big rocks. So one big rock, isn't that just a segue? Hey, one big rock that is in balance. If we look at the first law of thermodynamics, energy can be transformed from one form to another, but can neither be created nor destroyed. So we take in this energy, we put out energy, and if it's not getting put out, then we store the energy. And damn it, that is so frustrating, that idea of storage. So we say that we have this incredible energy balance equation, but it's not that simple, is it? It's absolutely not that simple, because what the heck? I'm not doing anything different. I don't feel like I'm putting more energy out than I'm taking in than I used to, and my body's still changing. Well, we have a whole lot of factors that are really influencing this dynamic that is occurring. So what is it that our body needs just to run the show? Our basal metabolic rate. One of the things is to think about is, if we have a condition, say a thyroid condition, it's going to change our BMR. These things, so how is energy used? How is energy, the energy out equation? All of a sudden, something will shift. I'm certainly not, it's not in my scope of practice to even think, like, I don't know about thyroid stuff. It's not what I do, but I do acknowledge how challenging some of these things can do. I do understand and say, okay, well, where are the barriers that we might need to investigate? Thermic effect of food. What does that mean? It just means how hard your body has to work, like protein takes more energy, break down that sausage. It actually takes more energy. If we think about fiber, why is fiber awesome? Well, fiber is awesome for many, many things, but including, think of that roughage. Break that down, those cellular walls of the kale. Like, why do we massage them ahead, before eating them? So it can break down easier. It takes energy. Non-exercise activity thermogenesis. That means, the people that shake their foot whenever they're sitting, that movement, and you just are just like, sometimes it's just like, oh my goodness. Or people that just can't sit still, they get on their ball and they're always moving. Well, guess what? That's energy out, really changing things. That's why we want to load our bones, keep moving, bring up that continuous activity. Cold, heat, altitude, fear, stress, medications, all changing the energy. It's not that it's still the law still applies, but where is it stored? Is there something happening within our body that is shifting? I need to store this. I need to store this. I need to get this out. And how does that actually look? Exercise, how we actually do our exercise matters. And I mentioned conditions. So let's just talk a little bit about where we're at with hormones. These are just a couple. Definitely not exhaustive. Here we've got estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, ghrelin, and leptin. So I want to just bring up these ones because, of course, here in perimenopause and beyond, we are experiencing either a huge flux, or we're kind of coming down in our estrogen and progesterone, testosterone. These things are really impacting our hormones, are absolutely impacting many things, what's happening within our body in terms of, and again, we'll come into the body composition. So what does this actually look like? So we know that estrogen and progesterone together positively influence bone formation. And so what is happening when we actually start to lose this estrogen and progesterone? Well, bone loss. We have ligaments and tendons. You know how when we're young, it seems like we have a certain spring of our step. Well, that's estrogen's beautiful job of having this nice elasticity. And as we lose our estrogen, oh, it becomes a little drier, that beautiful elastic. We talk about our feet, the plantar fasciitis starts to creep up on us in a way we were doing all the same things, but it doesn't feel the same anymore. This is what we're experiencing in hormone change. When we think about nutrition, one of the things that I was sharing with my athletes in Team Element was I came up with an analogy, and it was that of hard and soft ice cream. It's such a perfect analogy. I just love it. Okay, so as we go through perimenopause and beyond, for certain, we have this glycogen, which is stored in our muscles. Glycogen is broken down to give us energy and to give our muscles the energy to go and do the high intensity training that we want to do. But what they're finding is that for female athletes in the perimenopause and beyond, that glycogen is like really hard ice cream. You're trying to dig it out, but you got the spoon and the spoon is almost breaking. It makes us fantastic for really long endurance events, but it is harder to get at for the high intensity. Whereas if you're a male, it's fantastic. You got soft ice cream. It's just like they can just scoop it up and use it right away. Fantastic. It's right there. And it's changed for us. So why do we need to fuel our training? We fuel our training because then we have the energy to hit the intensity. The recovery is in the management of our stress cycle. It changes again due to our hormones shifting as well. And how we recover is related absolutely to body composition. By activating our parasympathetic nervous system, by allowing our bodies to get into that rest cycle that we have. These are just a few of the things that we want to delve into and start moving. So what are the big rocks that we can take a look at from a holistic point of view? We want to, sleep. Okay, let's make sure that we're really trying to address that one. Gut health. What are we doing for gut health? What are we really doing for our gut health? Energy intake. Looking at what is our baseline and where do we move from there? Is what we think we're doing this is the tricky part. In some cases, when we take in and take a look at that baseline, what we think we're doing actually may be contributing to low energy availability. What happens when we don't have enough energy? Well, this becomes fascinating. When we don't have enough energy, we don't put out the intensity. Our heart rates are going up because we're highly stressed because we don't have enough energy. So it feels hard. You're working so damn hard. But are we actually hitting the intensity that we're seeking? I don't know. We have to figure out your baseline. We have to figure out and know, like, are we even in the ballpark? Because we know with any numbers, they're pretty frustrating and actually not entirely useful because there's such a error rate with any of these calculations. We know that, but still we can use them to say, are we even in the ballpark? And that's the point. Are we in the ballpark? Or are we, wow, I didn't realize I was only having 1,500 calories a day. And yes, I do at least an hour of training. And yes, I have a demanding job. And yes, I'm constantly moving, but that's all I could get in. I'm quite full, Tennille. Well, what does that have to do with ghrelin and leptin, the other two? How is it that we bring in our circadian rhythms? How do we know our hormones are these beautiful, beautiful cyclical until in perimenopause, and then it kind of starts all shifting all over the place. But we want to support our bodies with as much of a cyclical rhythm so that we give it and support it and know, oh my goodness, you're going through a heck of a lot, body. Wow. I'm going to acknowledge you and I'm going to support you by practicing some rhythm and trying to stay within a rhythm of my day as much as I am able to do. We have the energy output, huge lever. And I've already mentioned, if we're low energy availability, are we pushing out what we can? I had mentioned also, it was a very excellent Thursday morning class, and Megan, another one of our athletes, was there, and we were having a body composition coaching call a couple weeks earlier, and she said, I hate eating, Tennille, before I train. I can't do it. I just can't do it. And so my answer is like, let's explore that. I want you to know for yourself. I'm not going to say I stand firmly in that we need to fuel for training, period. Let me be clear on that. And I want her to feel why we fuel for training. I want her to know intimately why it is and what is her possibility of coming into this hard workout that we did together. And so in midst of this, I said, okay, I know, Megan, you are strong enough to totally do this full workout as targeted. Without a doubt, she's got the ability. How did you do? How did it feel? Where's your perceived effort? How did you come up and rise up to the challenges that were before you? Do you need more fuel? And this is where we start to have these conversations. We all know fuel for your training, fuel for your training. But what is it and where is it that we can actually come into the conversation and I can remind you, this is what we're supposed to be feeling. This is what we're moving into in our possibility of achieving. I think it's pretty cool. So the next thing is what lever is where you want to start. And that doesn't necessarily mean that is the lever that's going to create change. So darn it, you're doing all the things. Okay, Tennille, I think this is where I need to start. We start our program, you come in, you're excited, and it's like, nothing's changing, Tennille. Nothing's changing. I don't right? Well, we need a different lever. Let's go and figure it out, because guess what? You can keep taking courses, you can keep on doing all the things, but if you're not actually creating the change, then the lever's not working. And we want to do things in not throwing everything in the bus at ourselves and to our bodies. That's going to shock you too. That's going to give you a whole heck of too much. So what we want to do is say, okay, this is the one thing that we're going to start with, and let's find some success. Let's create change. And if it's not changing, then heck, it's like the multivitamin, we can take it as a protective measure. Maybe it's great for us, but how do we know? Well, when we start working, I want to see change. Either in mindset, body composition, ability to do more hard things. What is it? But let's find what is changing within you and celebrate those changes. So how do we do it? We do it by the ACET model. We do it by building awareness. And what is this awareness? Again, it's coming into what is your baseline. It's doing the work. It's doing the, honestly, we have 3 ways in which we can track our nutrition coming in. You do it by hand. We do it by pictures. You can do it by numbers, but you got to do it. We got to know where we're starting from. It's really, to build awareness takes some work. You've got to come into it. You've got to rise to that, because otherwise, how do you know anything's changing? So while I'd like to say, no, I don't want to, you don't have to know anything. You have to know something. You got to get in. Same thing with your numbers for activity. We're going to figure it out. We're going to know what your heart is. Because what I see for most athletes, that almost all athletes that start, is that they come into understanding a whole new level of what they're capable of. And that, oh man, that is powerful and exciting. Because then you know you're hitting intensity. Then you know you're stressing the bones. Then you know you're keeping your muscle. Then you know you're keeping your VO2 max. Now I'm going to get a little science here. Why do I care about my VO2 max? Because it is our VO2 max that allows us that in a number of decades that we know that if we have a VO2 max of X, I think it's, don't quote me on the number, 20, that you can climb 5 flights of stairs. I think it was Beth. It was you, Beth, wasn't it? That said, I want to be able to climb stairs, damn it, when I'm in my older and later decades of life. Because my mom can't climb stairs. And damn it, I want to climb stairs. So why do we care? We care because we need to be able and keep pushing up that VO2 max. No, we're not going to settle. Heck no. Because I know Beth, and she wants to actually climb a mountain in those final decades. Like, she's not going to be, she's like, just like, I am going up those beautiful rocks. Are you kidding me? That she lives near? Oh my goodness, such a beautiful area. We're going to keep going. The connection is like it's purpose. It's your why. It's your intention. It's the connecting to what is that one thing that we're going to do? How do we choose that? How do we choose that for you? How do we figure out what is your spot? Because again, we are so busy. Are you kidding me? To have the whole suite, the whole course. I've done all the courses. I know. I'm just like, oh my goodness. Like, are you going to start with cold water showers? Are you going to do the ashwagandha? Are you going to do what are you going to do? Well, we could try to do it all. And then we just actually have no idea where we started from anyway. So, it's frustrating. So let's figure out what we're going to connect to first. And then we're going to do it. And we're going to see if it makes the changes we want to see. Keep moving toward where you want to go. So those are 3 mistakes that I see happen. Poor application of intensity. Again, what is your starting point? I've done a number of many interviews of experts, and one of the consistent things that they say, and one of the consistent things that I see, is that we are not loading. I've talked to a number of women, and it's a fear. It's a fear in my heart. I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if my heart's strong enough. I don't know if I've got to be more careful. Well, all those messages from our society is certainly telling us, you're aging, darling, be more careful. And I'm saying, okay, make sure you have clearance from your doctor and have all those things, but let's see here. Let's see what we can do. And we'll get through it. We can be smart. Our bodies are going to shut us down before we're really stupid. And in those cases in which, things have occurred, I mean, there was something else there too. So be careful, get your clearance from your doctor if you need that, but let's actually just do hard things. Poor application of variability. This is an incredible one. And I really do want you to think about these 3 mistakes that we have. And that variability is the key to so much. So we think of movement. We need variability of movement. I love sending my athletes off into trail runs, even though they're road running or they want to have pace. Well, I love the variability of their feet moving all over the place. Beautiful. I want the variability in your strength program. Yes, lift heavy, but let's not forget about all those micro movements that need to happen. Because guess what, if you don't think about the wrist and how your wrist is moving, guess what happens if you have to brace yourself? Great that you've got really strong quads, but not so great if you haven't thought about all the other ligaments and tendons that you want to keep on loading and working. We think about nutrition variability. And what is that? Thinking about color. thinking about the value of different macronutrients and keeping them in balance. We don't want to go only one way, at least in the nutrition, all the nutrition research that I'm not a firm believer of one thing. I can't go there. It's just not, I can't just eat fat. We need more than just fat. We need more than just something. We want the variability because that's what lifts us up. And the final one is consistency. And this one, I'm going to actually offer something a little bit different in this. So we learn about in the mindset work, the perfect imperfect option. And what I want to challenge you on is, yes, we want to have consistency of, say, our training and eating in a way that feels good for our bodies. And okay, so that's a given. And what happens when we are not feeling well or our life is just super stressful? What I want you to be, and each of you to take on, is consistency in honoring your body. Number one. And what does that look like? If the question is actually reframed to, how is this going to serve my body? And how is this going to make me feel just like when I started this call, and it's going to make me feel that strength and that power and that, oh, that lusciousness, that I felt home in my body, that I could do anything. The consistency comes with self-compassion, and the consistency comes with sometimes not doing the workout, or sometimes doing the workout. Does it give you energy or does it take it away? That will bring the consistency. It's not through like what I did, which was whoop it, discipline, stick to the plan, stick to the plan, stick to the plan. The coach knows best. I'd say bullshit. You know best. You will figure out and know best your body best, especially when we're trying to find the cycle and the flow of where we're going. So this comes into a technology topic. Technology. Oh, those beautiful Aura rings, Garmin trackers, Stride, power meters, continuous glucose monitors. Like, who is just chock block full of technology? And what are we using it for? So stage one is that we have it, we purchase it. And once in a while we look at it and we kind of think about it. It's like, okay, well, what am I getting from this? Stage two use is actually grappling and noticing not just the trends, because this is really what we're trying to understand with technology is trends. We're trying to understand, how is it if I'm looking at my Aura ring, how is it my Monday to my Monday? Not Monday to Tuesday, it might be completely different. We want to look Monday to Monday. Why? Because you just came off a weekend. If you're an on-call physician that was working all weekend, guess what? It totally depends. So we want to understand the trends of your heart rate variability as well. It's not on a single day. We want to understand how it is that we can respond to the push and the pull of training. We need to come into the idea, like one of an athlete that I have here in Victoria, her name is Kathy. I think we've been together for 13 years. I can't even remember. In any case, we keep on adjusting how her training plan, and she's one of my easiest athletes to coach because it's really just like, she just keeps on showing and doing the work. She's now a decade older and she's still doing the same thing. Like, I changed and evolved as a coach for sure. I do better workouts. I have more information. I've grown, she's grown, whatever. But now it's like, oh no, Tennille, this is how we're going to structure our workout plan now. We've got to do intensity and strength training on the same day. And then I have to have a full day of rest. And then I get to do it again. And then I have another full day of rest. And then I get to do my endurance. And then she has figured out what is working for her. But you know what? It might change again. And will change because her body keeps on changing. What this looks like is that the highest technology that is possible is you. And that's where we want to go. We want to be able to say, oh yeah, my Aura ring told me that I was not ready for this today, but let me tell you, I threw that down and I loved it. I know what I got. And that just can help us. Is it good to understand trans? Is it good? But I want to say the mind is so incredibly powerful, because what we also believe, we know we can change physiologically in our body. There was a study done with housekeepers, Dr. Aaliyah Crum housekeeper study, and they took a whole number of housekeepers and they put them into two groups. One group, and they didn't change the activity of these housekeepers at all. And they put some of them in this one group and told them, did you know that your 15,000 steps, like you can just imagine, as there were housekeepers in New York City, and they were working hotels, they were up and down stairs, they were working, they were changing beds, they were moving so many steps. Did you know that was good for your blood pressure? That you are doing more than, how many marathons in a month? Like, it was just like, they just said, you are in a place of health, that what you're doing is incredible. Let's acknowledge it. And then the other housekeepers didn't learn a thing. They're just like, done. And guess whose blood pressure got better? Guess whose motivation improved? Guess who was feeling like they were like, I am doing amazing. And their happiness quotient went up. They didn't call it the happiness quotient. I'm calling it happiness. Like, all these things, physiological changes occurred in their bodies. Why? Because they acknowledged something. This is why I want you to become the highest technology that's possible, because if you acknowledge where you're going, you've got gold. What it takes. We need to know our intentions and come grounded in what we really truly want to move toward. Know your values, know your priorities, because those are going to really impact how we are able to show up. We move to health, and performance is based on the foundation of our health, and then we execute it. So we're going to come back to the ACET, because that's what, I wanted to share. And then what I'm so freaking stoked about is to say, okay, where are you at in change? Where are you at with, moving from pre-contemplation to contemplation, to moving into a place of, I'm ready to take something on. I'm ready to stretch. And in that awareness, you may have been taking a lot of courses. You may have been trying a lot of things, but something hasn't stuck yet. So now we come into the connection. All right, here I'm saying, we've got this program that's ready for you. I want you to be part of it. You can do it. You don't have to be an elite athlete. You don't have to be anything that in this idea of the comparison, but you do need to be a person that wants to show up for yourself and be ready to do some work. So this is just like what it is. So the details are really here in this bit here. So you get the educational modules. So you get that information again, because it has to be grounded in science. I want to make sure that we know the big levers. We look at the step-by-step approach. We look at of how to, what is this energy in thing? How do I time it? How do I look at nutrition, not just from a standpoint of calories in, but what about the timing? What about that timing that I'm doing? How do I have confidence that what I'm eating is actually nourishing my body, that I'm using it to my benefit? Then we go from that into also understanding, okay, yep, you're going to do it. You're going to do an assessment, because I want to know, where's our baseline? What are we doing? What are we currently doing? Then we figure out how to put it into some goals. And this is all done within a supported and continual coaching call framework with it's a small group. The other exciting thing that I want to share with you is that it's really, you have the access to the spin sessions. Beth's been to them, Donna's been to them. You're going to get your get your money's worth in those They're hard and they're awesome and they are supportive and they are beautiful, and that we really get in it together. James Clear, I love this quote. James Clear says, "You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems." We want to have goals. Of course we do. We want to know and reach for these things that scare us just a bit because they're motivating and they're fun and it gives us a timeline. Heck, I'm all about timelines. But it's not in the wish of getting somewhere. It's in how am I going to execute? This particular program is 3 months. So it's really about what you have is access to the live sessions. It's not the complete plan. My coaching plan is something different. And if you were looking for a coach, then you certainly can email me about that, because that is something different. I do every single plan I have for an athlete is individualized. I realize I can't do it any other way. I just don't know how to do the full group program. But what you do get within this one is the live sessions. And we can build that out to, talk about how do I start balancing the other things that I want to do in my life? How do I bring in this swim? How do I do that? This is the price, but there is a bonus because you've come today, and we'll get to that at the end. So I'm going to stop the share, and I'm going to share the bonus, but I am going to stop the recording as well. So here we go.